Welcome to Insights into a Soul, the podcast that no one asked for. This is a podcast about life, love, and everything in between. So grab a cup of coffee and relax, and join me as we gain insights into a soul. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Insights into a Soul. Got a fun, different, special episode tonight. Got a few guests with me today. We've got Will.
Hey!
We've got Jeff.
Real talk, I just spilled drink on me.
And beer. All right, here we go. And Rachel is joining us.
Hey.
How many takes did this take to start?
Oh my gosh, we've been trying to start this for the past 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yep.
Real talk, he just spilled his drink.
And he just spilled beer.
Right on my face, all down my
You
beard.
can't have any more.
What a mess.
What are we talking about today, Tor?
So, hey, first of all, just big shout out to everyone who's supported the podcast. We've been getting some great feedback, great reviews. We've got some
Patreon's blowing up.
Patreon. We haven't started Patreon yet, but we might.
I will say this. Matt Hill caught me in the parking lot the other day. Matt, thank you for listening. He shouted us out and said, hey, dude, you guys did a great job on the podcast. So that was really cool.
Appreciate
You
it.
talking about this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this podcast, not this episode.
Oh, okay.
No, just wanted to do something different. Just hanging out and decide to record a podcast.
So what are we talking about today, Tor?
Hey now.
Having a
Wait a second. On my way here, I was the one who came up with the title. Or came up with the content, not the
So
title.
what are you talking about today, Jeff?
Wow. Thank you for asking, Will.
Welcome.
That's like, you set it up and
This
I
is
just...
Torrance
I just
podcast,
whiffed.
not you.
It is Torrance
I'm losing
podcast. I'm
control of this
sorry.
thing fast.
It's no longer Torrance podcast.
Control is just all downhill from here. Control is gone.
Does that incite fear in you?
No, it doesn't.
Are you not afraid?
No,
of us
I'm
taking-
actually taking that fear, and I'm going to use it to propel myself forward.
So that's the topic of today's podcast. Torn, I'm just taking the reins on that from you
what
right
the
now.
heck are you doing? Back down, Jeff.
Don't
Back
care.
down. Drink your beer.
It's mine.
Drink your beer.
So today's topic is fear. I'm going to take control of this now because Jeff is vaping and Torrance laughing. Today we're going to talk about fear and how it drives us and maybe prevents us from doing things we want to do.
Because no
Did
matter
I describe
who
that
you-
well enough?
No matter who you are, you've experienced fear in your life. Fear is one of those like basal instincts that everybody has. It's a basic thing that we all need to experience.
He said basil. Yeah.
That's a word.
Basil?
Yeah,
I think you mean
Really?
basil, which is an herb,
No,
not a word.
not
What
the
is
herb.
What is basil?
It's like an
Stop it.
intrinsic.
That's not the topic.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
fascinated
not.
by this.
Okay. Dictionary's coming out.
Wait,
Go ahead.
Pause while Jeff
Talk
goes
amongst
in.
yourselves.
there's a lady here.
I think. Whoa. Anyway, I think we should start this. I'm taking control.
Now-
I'm the captain
No,
now. I think we should
this is
start
off
this
the rails.
podcast.
Let's reset. Okay, here we go. So, if you've listened to the podcast, you have heard from Jeff. We've had him on a couple episodes.
Yep.
And Will has joined us on a couple episodes that we've recorded.
Maybe not all out yet.
Yeah, they might not be all out yet, but Will is a friend of mine. I've known him for a couple of years now. Jeff I've known for like 9 years.
Basal means forming or at the base of.
That's pronounced basal.
Of, at, or for. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's all.
Not.
And Rachel is a really good friend of mine as well. I've known you for a few years. So, yeah, just wanted to get some friends together, hanging out, and decided to record a podcast. And Jeff came up with a really good idea. We didn't know what to talk about. And, you know, we want these podcasts to be very relatable, very real. And you okay over there, Will?
Yeah, just some slight burp. It's fine.
Look, guys, we're a couple drinks in, you know? So this could make for some interesting conversation.
I need to catch up.
You do. And so, yeah, Jeff had a great idea to talk about something that we all experience. We don't kind of experience. We all experience it. And we experience it on different levels, and that's fear. There's fear that comes with everything. Fear can be a good thing. Fear can be a bad thing. And I think it's really what we do with fear, or how we face it, how we approach it, determines, you know, what drives us. Yes, Will.
Why the hell are you raising your
his
hand?
hand.
I have
He's
something I
being
want to say.
polite.
Okay.
We don't
We don't have
any
a
kind
talking
of, like,
stick or
talking
anything
stick
like
to
that.
pass around.
And I wanted, before we get too deep on... You done vaping? All right, cool. No, I'm good. Before we get too deep on this topic, I wanted us to each take an opportunity to talk or express our greatest fear, whether it be clowns or something like that, just so we can raise the comfort level before we dig a little deeper into all of this.
Do we want to go fears as far as like what we're afraid, like clowns, or do we want to go more like existential?
I'm saying start topical, high or base level, and then go
Basal?
existential. Start basal, and then go existential.
I dislike you guys deeply.
No, this is an educational
fear of
thing,
yours?
guys. Look at that. We learned
yeah.
something on this podcast already. We learned. I've never heard basil.
I've only used basil in Italian.
That's
foods.
BASIL. BASAL.
Anyway,
Okay, fine. So
I
kick
like
it off-
that. I like that though.
Kick it off, Will.
so this is.
You want to talk? Go ahead and talk.
I don't want to talk. I'm just, it was an idea. I wanted somebody else to go first.
Okay, it's a good idea.
My
Go
fear
for it.
is talking first. No, but really, I really hate any insect that could sting me. Wasps, bees. I've actually never been stung by either, and I would like to keep it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you allergic?
I have no idea. I've never been stung.
So there's even more fear.
Yeah.
that you don't know.
I'm highly allergic, so yeah, I have that
You
slight
get
fear
it.
too. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't get it, but you get it.
I like that
I don't
you
want to
said
die.
I like that you said slight fear. I'm highly allergic. I'm kind of fearful of it.
Well, geez.
Well, no,
we
because
know-
I've trained myself to stay still and not freak out when something comes flying at my face.
So I grew up on a farm. I'll admit I've run out of my share of fields screaming before from some sort of insect flying around me. I'm pretty sure it could have stung me, but sometimes I don't get a good look, and it might have been like a fly.
But we're not taking any chances.
We're not taking any chances. I don't want to risk it.
Getting the heck out of there.
I mean, unless you're severely allergic to it, though, a bee sting is really not that bad.
I don't know.
I've been stung by
I don't
bees.
know.
I've been stung so many times. It feels like being shot with like an airsoft gun.
Yeah, have you ever gotten like a shot in your arm? Like,
I've never been shot in my life.
okay, have you ever gotten a shot in the
Needle.
arm, like medication needle?
Yes.
Needle.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I hate
It's a
that.
pinch.
We
It's
know you're from Illinois. We
I
just
get
didn't, we weren't sure if you've been shot or not.
not. It's,
Vaccinate your
Just
kids.
like
he's from the farm country. All
Just move on.
right, Jeff. What's
your fear?
So I actually have like two fears I would quantitate as like greatest fears, and they're pretty much on the same level. I think maybe one of them has surpassed the other one now, but number one used to be fear of drowning. Like,
Oh,
Shit,
I
I
can-
empathize with that.
I can-
empathize.
empathize. Yeah, I can actually.
I can emphasize that.
Take that.
Drown.
Drown.
Will actually just drags me to the kitchen, starts holding my head under the sink, like, God, no.
different
No, I can actually. I know where that actually comes from. When I was.
I'm
You good?
Yeah.
He's good.
All right.
He's good.
When I was about 6 years old, 5 years old, sorry, I was in Hawaii and a kid actually held my head underwater and I almost drowned. And
That sucks.
Yeah, so
Wow.
really, really terrifying.
And so on the
Like,
next episode, we'll deal with childhood trauma
yeah,
and how that
Jeff has a
shapes
lot.
your life.
I've got so many
It's
of them.
making so much more sense why you are the way you are.
Oh, I know.
I've never
all-
So
seen
what's your other fear? So you have the fear of drowning.
never seen him drink
And then
water.
being alone, honestly, like that. I think that's a big one that a lot of people suffer from without
on this one.
realizing.
Let me
Yeah.
cheers to
Really.
that real quick.
Yeah,
And Rachel.
Wow.
being alone. Oh, I don't get anything. Well, thanks, Will.
You're married.
You're
happily.
married.
Oh, now I see.
We're all alone.
Yeah, I'm married, so I'm not alone.
Happily married.
We always live
Very happily married.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, I love you, Brittany Singleton. You're the best.
Jeff, I think you talk about Brittany just as much as you talk about like
Yourself?
anything else. Like it's that forefront of your life.
Yep.
Some might say
Okay,
you love
so
her.
drowning and being alone.
Yep.
Rachel.
Damn it, Jeff! Why'd you guys steal mine?
Being alone.
Same?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
being alone is one of my fears.
It's a scary
That makes it
thing.
even darker now that you're actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
horrid. And that's come on. I mean, but that's the reality, and that's another podcast that'll be coming. We're going to sit down with Rachel and talk through her situation in life. But yeah, so being alone.
Being alone, and I'm also actually slightly afraid of the dark.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. I get really freaked out with
Flip.
yeah when when I'm going outside to my car like in the morning and it's pitch black and I hear a noise. I'm like running to my car. Like,
What measures do you take to avoid it? Do you like flick the lights and you're diving into the covers or something?
so
like
when
that,
I'm going
or-
to bed, it's different. Like I can actually go to bed with the lights off and all that kinds of stuff.
I hope
It's
so.
when I'm getting up in like the middle of the night to go pee or something like that. that's when I'm like, okay, is anything weak or is anything moving? Like it actually, yeah, I'm like darting as fast as I can to the bathroom and then back into bed. I'm like, I do. Yeah.
God. So
I'm just picturing Rachel like combat rolling down the hallway like Dark Souls or something.
that's
Mission Impossible.
So my fears, I'm finding out that I'm apparently afraid of a lot. I mean, obviously I have common fears.
Sorry, sneeze.
Spiders and snakes I hate.
That's reasonable.
And I can't stand those, but the dark is a very strange thing, because it's similar for me. I used to have to sleep with a light of some sort on.
Mm-hmm.
What makes the... Okay, so here's a great freaky story for you. One night I was outside.
Is this a ghost story?
I don't know, maybe. Oh. I was getting stuff out of my car, and I heard, like, footsteps and, like heavy breathing, but, like... We have wolves and stuff around here, and coyotes. Oh! So I don't know if that's what it was, but it was just, like... It wasn't just, like... It wasn't normal sounding. And I got my ass inside real fast.
That's reasonable.
But yeah.
It was actually just Rapey Joe up the street trying to find his next victim.
Can we say that?
It's weird that that's his name.
Can we say that on the podcast? I guess so.
I mean,
we just did.
You're the one editing this.
I don't edit these podcasts.
Oh, I guess we're saying Rapey Joe on the podcast.
Oh, no.
That's where the Mario Quinn comes in. Mario.
Yeah, I give her a hard time with that one. Mario.
Yeah, he gives me a hard time
He even
about that.
says,
I know.
It's me, Mario.
I know, and I didn't say it that way.
Mario?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what you meant.
Rachel's also from Jersey.
Thanks.
It's the Mario.
It's me, Mario.
I know, but honestly...
I could do it that way, but...
One of my biggest fears is something I've kind of really realized in the past... since my breakup is I have a very strong fear of dying alone. So not just being alone, but like just that whole dying alone. It's really dark.
Have you started like looking at your impact in the world? Have you started like going backwards and seeing like when I die,
who's gonna remember you?
Who's gonna remember me?
So that's not so much my fear.
Okay.
It's not so much of like leaving a legacy or anything like that.
You've done that.
It's maybe I have.
You have children.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah. But I just, it's more so of it ties in that fear of being alone and just like not having someone there with you at the end. Someone there to comfort you, to hold you, to be there with you.
Pull the plug.
Wow, that took a turn.
I couldn't resist it.
Holy crap, that took a turn.
To make sure your rocking chair lands perfectly on your oxygen line.
That's one of my big fears that I've recently discovered. But the other fear is I have a fear of disappointment, of disappointing people. I'm the type of person that I want people to like me, and I want to help people. I never want to be a hindrance to anyone or cause anyone pain or hurt, which I know I will. I mean, that's life. We're human. We make mistakes. We fail. Reference podcast 3. Failure. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to let people down, and I don't ever want to be the reason that someone would stumble or struggle. And so that's a big fear. Yeah. So hey, fear. That's what we're talking about today. So now that we started off with a really oddly...
Wait, what are we talking about again?
Super topical fear.
Being alone.
Okay.
I'm so afraid. No, Jeff had a good point as we were chatting beforehand that, fear does a couple different things. I mean, obviously you've got the fears like the snakes and spiders and the dark, and then you've got those deep fears, those emotional fears of being alone, of disappointment, failure.
Failure, yeah.
But you brought up a great point that fear can immobilize you, but then there's also a different approach or a different reaction you can have to fear.
And that's actually the word immobilize is a great word for it. Fear can immobilize you, or you can use it to mobilize you.
Yeah.
Right? Because we call it fight or flight.
Yep.
The the flight is more of the immobilize in most people's fear. Flight is the immobilization to not do what you're afraid of.
Yeah.
Whereas the fight side is to dive into that fear and to attack it head on.
Yeah. So now with
That's
that,
a perfect
though,
description, yeah.
with an interesting thing about the fight side of it, there is a maturity in the fight side. Because reactionary fear, the fight side, can cause you to act without thinking.
Yep.
And have
Impulsively.
adverse reactions.
Yep.
You can react out of fear. Someone accuses you of something. You have a situation at work, and you can react out of fear.
Flashbacks. Oh.
Yeah. We've done it. We've all been there. But you can have that fear reaction where you just react out of instinct. You react without thinking, and you can end up causing more harm than good.
Yeah.
It's not a constructive result. And there's a shadow in the background. The dog.
A shadow of the podcast.
But you can have that fear that ends up causing more damage that's still mobilizing you, but in a negative way. But then, with maturity, with growth, with learning, with bonding with people, being in relationship and community, you can grow and you can learn to...
You can learn how to use fear.
Exactly. You can learn to use it to propel you in a positive direction. You learn that fear, hey, you know what? I'm afraid, but I'm going to take this energy, I'm going to take this this compulsion, stop for a minute, and think, and react, and respond, and it's going to push you to do better, to do more. Because, again, you can use that fear, like, okay, let's just kind of talk about the fear of failure, because we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Or the fear of disappointment. Being so afraid that you're going to fail or disappoint someone can be very negative for you. Mm-hmm. But if you use it in that, hey, I don't want to fail, I don't want to disappoint anyone, so I'm going to learn to be the best that I can be. And again, this comes with having these good relationships with friends and peers that you know how to add value. And so you use that fear of, I don't want to let my colleagues down, my coworkers down. So I'm going to push myself to become a better person, to become better at my job, to become a better friend. And then you're adding value, not only to your life, but to other people's lives.
Yeah.
And so that's where that fear, because fear is always going to be there. We can't escape it.
It's intrinsic to our nature.
So, like, okay, like we were talking earlier, Jeff. You're like, the thing about me is, like, I'm not really afraid of anything, like, when it comes to careers and stuff. Like, you're not afraid of, you don't feel that fear in the traditional sense because it doesn't immobilize you. Like, you gave a great example. You were talking about your LO career. That was a huge dive for you.
I'll just dive into that just a little bit. We've already talked about failure and how my LO career, whereas some would have seen it as a failure, we've actually talked about how that failure actually led to success. The fear before going into that was I was giving up a secure job, a job where I had solid income every single week. I gave that up for a commission-based income in a society, in a situation. I shouldn't say society because we all live in a society. Cringe at my memes.
How dare you say that word?
No, but in a situation where my wife wasn't working as much as she was able to. There's a whole nother podcast I'm sure that we can talk about that. But I took the opportunity and I faced down that fear and I dove into it and said, you know what? I'm going to use this fear to say, no, I'm not going to be immobilized by it. I'm going to confront this head on. I'm going to dive into this career. I'm completely pivoted from what I've ever done in the past and said, I can do this. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stall. I'm not going to hang around and wait. I dove in head first and I let the fear actually propel me forward to say, look, if I am afraid of this, it's because it's what I need to do. It's the next step I need to take.
I will say in that too, or would you say that the fear of not being able to provide for your family if you didn't do your best played into that at all?
Just so you can cut that part out, so there's silence there.
We'll see. Yeah.
We'll just leave it in.
It probably won't cut it out.
Cracking bruise. But would you say, okay, so would you say that fear of not being able to provide for your family compelled you or propelled you in a way?
So I wouldn't say that the fear of not being able to provide propelled me. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, yes. There was that fear. That was that fear of, if I don't do this well, I'm not putting food on the table. I'm not paying the mortgage. I'm not paying for the car. Mm-hmm. If I don't do well at this, like, there was that point where I cannot fail. Because this is all I have. There was no safety net. There was nothing there to catch me if I fell. And sometimes I think that's what people fall back on, is that safety net. Yeah. There's always that safety net for a lot of people where, oh, look, if this doesn't work out, I have this to lean back on. I have this to lean back on. Sometimes using that fear to step beyond your safety net, to take that leap, even though it's hard as shit, sometimes that's what you have to do to learn that you can actually go beyond what you ever thought you could actually achieve.
I feel that at that situation, that point, that fear kind of sets a baseline for you.
Yeah.
Like, you can't drop below this line, so you've got to... Yeah, and it's a positive, because fear can be a positive thing, where you're making sure that you're pushing yourself. So you're pushing yourself, whatever it is that you're doing, not just an LO career, but, with your cosplay or your, creative stuff, your job, you've got this baseline where I can't drop below this line, this standard. So I've got to learn new skills. I've got to, improve myself. I've got to make better connections and network better in order to maintain, but not just maintain, but to rise above that limit, above that line, and make sure you're staying above it. Mm-hmm. And for not just because, oh my gosh, if I do this, I'm going to be a failure, but because you want to do the best that you can do or be the best that you can be. So let's think about that. Let's move on to Rach. Let's talk about maybe something in your life, like where fear has maybe propelled you or motivated you to do something different, like with Jeff.
So for me, there was always a spirit. So, a little backstory. I left my marriage. And that, for me, was a fear. Fear of comfort, fear of complicity, fear of financial, being alone.
Fear of change in general.
So, it's a very huge change. And I had to make that decision to take that step, face that fear, essentially, and try to figure out step one. And step one was making the decision. Step two was talking about it. And step three was implementing, not looking back. And that step three has been the hardest, sure. Because just, emotions and memories and all that kinds of stuff that really helped, hurts. But it was the fear of, if I left, what would happen? Where would I be? Where would I go? Who would I talk to? How would my finances look? How do I provide for myself, for my daughter?
Fear of what's going to happen to your ex, too.
Fear of what's... Well, yes and no, in a sense, because... Okay. At that point, I've decided it's no longer my responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Which is good.
Yeah. But it's a fear of realizing that. Because for so long, I was the sole responsible and caregiver of my family. So, yeah.
So I think... So, in both these situations so far, what I'm seeing is that fear is something that we face... but can be something that propels us to something better. Mm-hmm. Now, not to say that singleness or loneliness is better, but it's that sometimes we have to face that fear because what's on the other side of that fear, what's on the other side of that challenge, is better for us in the long run. Mm-hmm. So again, it's hard. It's difficult. It's, you made these decisions... a lot of things to take into account, and it wasn't like rushed decision. We'll get into that on a different podcast. We're going to really dive in because I love diving into stuff. I love breaking it down and and all that. We know this. Will, stop snickering at me.
Sorry. Wait.
But no, it's that fear that you had to weigh that we're going to have to face fear throughout our lives. Mm-hmm. It's the question of if we face this fear head on and we tackle it, is the reward or is the other side of it more beneficial to us? You know, and it sounds selfish, I think, but we have to remember that at some point you have to be a little bit selfish because you have to take care of yourself first. You have to focus on yourself first. And it's one thing to do something for the sake of being selfish. Oh, I'm doing this just because I want to be wealthy. I want to be rich. For what reason? Well, just because. Or I want to get out of this relationship that I'm in. Well, why? Well, just because I'm not happy. Well, why? Well, just because. No, there's a lot of weighing that goes into it, a lot of thought, sleepless nights. But then again, this goes into our episodes about friendship and stuff. Having that network of people that you can talk to make sure that... And people that you can trust to give you an honest opinion that have your best interest in mind, that you can weigh it against. You know, I mean, I know, Jeff, we had conversations and stuff about the LO career. And, you know, Rachel, I know that you had friends that you talked to about, you know, is this the right decision? There's a lot of wrestling with things before the decisions were made. Because you know that it affects more than just yourself. But at the same time, at some point in our lives, we have to make decisions for the best interest of ourselves versus the best interest of the world.
And go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to mention, like, so I basically took those reins to make that decision and have taken control of my life in the sense of I'm moving forward. I decided that this was no longer working for me physically, mentally, or emotionally. And for the future, I needed to reassess where I was going, how I was feeling, what I was doing. And the only solution I felt that was right for me at that time was to end that chapter and start to press forward to a new chapter, whether I liked it or not.
Now, let me ask you guys this, Rachel and Jeff, since you both have shared your fears. We're going to get to you, Will.
Poor Will.
I didn't say anything, all right?
Was there ever a time where you looked back and wondered, did I make the right decision?
Every day. Every day.
Not at all.
No. But see, I think it's a different approach, though, Jeff. No.
It's a complete...
I like that.
it is.
But it's different.
But Jeff,
different situation.
Yeah,
you
for
knew,
sure.
like, it wasn't a regretful thing for you.
No.
But again, like you said earlier, fear doesn't really affect you the same way.
I think fear in my life has always been a little different than most people. Most people take that fear and they stop, they run, they change, they do something else to get away from that fear. I've always been that type of person. I think that's something that I got from my father, is no matter what... I don't know what just happened with my throat there.
So let's just preface it. Jeff's father is like Superman.
He's the most hardcore badass man I have ever heard of.
He's died about 14 times now, right?
So many stories where he's cheated death.
There's been cancers, there's been heart attacks, there's been car accidents, there's been muggings, there's been skiing accidents, like there's pneumonia.
And
like,
listen,
anyways,
your dad, like the main question that he always asks the doctor, because he was just in for heart problems again.
So it was just a couple of weeks ago. My dad was in. He had a surgery to put in stents for blockages in his heart. He looks at the doctor and goes, "Okay, doc, but when can I play tennis again?"
Would you say he's fearless?
Wait a second. He's 83.
Wow.
83 and still goes out and plays tennis
He's
3 or 4
spry
times a
young
week.
man.
Good on him.
So he doesn't really look at fear the way that other people do.
No, he does not look at fear the way that other people do. He always runs headlong into the fear and says, you know what? If I'm afraid of it, that's something that I have to conquer.
Yeah. Your dad looks at fear and goes, bring it.
Yeah.
And goes head on into
And
it.
I definitely got that from him because, looking at that change, looking at that whole complete career shift, looking at everything, I was like, okay, I have to talk to my wife. Obviously, that was, for me, that was the biggest thing that I had to see. Like, do I get the approval? Is this the right move? I've
Smart
talked to some of
man.
my friends.
I need to get Brittany on a podcast.
Oh, yeah,
Two of
absolutely.
you, because I want to hear her perspective.
She's
on
going
it.
to say it was the wrong decision. This is honest one.
I told him he was going to fail.
No. And that's the
No, she's
exact
super
opposite.
supportive,
She
yeah.
even-
Super supportive.
She even looked at me and she was like, look, no matter what you need to do, she told me from the get-go was, hey, look, I know you're not happy with where you're at right now.
Yeah.
I know we need to make a change. She said, sure, you need to do this for you, do it.
And I'm sure she knew that there was a level of potential failure,
Oh, absolutely.
but she wasn't going to let that hinder you. She wasn't going to let that, stop you from pursuing something that you felt you needed to do.
Yeah, and that's one of those funny things. You look back every day and say you wonder if it was wrong.
I wonder, but I know the answer.
But there's the wonder.
There's
And I'll
the
say
wonder.
too, like, knowing you, Rachel, as you've gone on and as you've dealt with the emotions and the feelings, that fear, I think, and those questions are becoming less and less.
Oh, absolutely.
And now you're like, okay, this is what happened. Now how do I move on? How do I move forward?
Where do I go from here?
Yeah. And so now your fears are, what does my future look like, and how do I become the best person that I need to be? Will's raising his hand.
I'm raising my hand because I wanted to express something, and
Go for it, Will.
I'm really bad at just jumping in. I wanted to express appreciation and general respect for using your fear and using it as a tool to go to friends that were very trustworthy and kind of reassuring yourself of decisions you were considering, expressing your fears on your relationship and going with them and seeking advice from people that were very trustworthy, not necessarily stakeholders in it,
Right.
but they were kind of a neutral party and really helped you through it.
And even a counselor. I mean, I
Yeah,
did
that
go
too.
to counseling for a little while, mainly for my mental health because it was declining severely from the first. Actually, ever since I had my daughter, it had been on a decline and fairly rapidly. No one ever tells you. They tell you about the postpartum, but they don't tell you how far that postpartum really goes
Till they're about 18.
till you really are in that hole. That is
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
terrible, Will. Hey, I will say that I am one and done. I did not like being pregnant. Fuck that. But anyway, I digress.
So, William.
I'm just here to comment. I don't have any fears.
No,
I'm fearless.
No.
So we were talking about this briefly beforehand about fears I may have in my life, and I don't know if we've covered this in a podcast that has been aired yet, but I moved here with my now ex-girlfriend from Illinois to North Carolina for her purposes, and I was going to move here with nothing, essentially. No friends, no job, and literally no job when I was moving here. So that was a large fear for me to take on. It was a fear of where is our relationship going, a fear of what's going to happen with my life, a fear of am I going to continue to have friendships in Illinois with the friends I have, a fear of I just had a niece from my sister, of course. I didn't have a niece. Well, I guess I technically did. Anyway, a fear of I'm not going to see a lot of her life growing up, and a lot of fears along all of that. And yeah, unfortunately, some of those fears came to fruition, but a lot of them have been alleviated in various ways as well.
How have you overcome some of those fears?
So as far as like my niece, I'm at a video chat with her once a week, actually. So that
I know,
helps
you've got
a
like
lot.
a scheduled thing, don't you?
Every Sunday, almost every Sunday. It doesn't always happen depending on people's schedules, but usually at least once a week I get to have a video chat with her, and she usually points at things in a book for me for 20 minutes or so. Yeah.
That is the cutest fucking thing I have ever heard.
She's incredibly fucking adorable. I love it. Anyway,
Explicit tag.
as far as friendships back in Illinois, like they've waned a bit for sure, and that's honestly to be expected because it's distance and you don't have like a constant dialogue with them anymore. I mean, I get online and play friendships. I get online and play video games with a few of them occasionally, and that's great. I actually feel like I have stronger friendships with some of them because of that in a way, which is odd. But some of the others have kind of fallen off, and it sucks and it hurts, but at the same time, like, their life goals weren't necessarily aligned with mine, I've realized.
How old are you?
28.
Okay.
Why? How does that apply?
No, I was just curious.
Oh, Jeff over
'cause,
here, like, huh, okay.
You ain't saying shit,
I see.
son.
I mean, I'm
Let me
30
tell you, whippersnapper.
I'm not a young man anymore, so I
Not even-
realized
Jeff's not that much older than Will. Let's just.
I'm not. I'm 32. I'm about to be 33. I'll probably be 33 by the time this episode comes
Well,
out.
37 here soon.
I know.
Jeez, you're old.
I know. It's funny. Today at the liquor store, the guy asked for my ID, and he's like, "Let me see how far off I am." He's like, "Wow, I'm way off."
I'm offended. I went to the liquor store with you. I wasn't carded at all.
He was like, "How old?" I was like, "How old do you think I am?" I'm just curious. He's like, "Oh, I thought you're like 26, 27." I was like, "Well, all right."
You're also like 4'10", so sorry.
Wow. So that will be the last time Will's on a podcast, and his might not air. So glad you gave a lot of context.
We're just
to what's
going to
going on.
mute everything that Will has said during this podcast.
That's completely
too.
reasonable.
back
Hasn't been
and
very
delete.
applicable.
Will
Stop it. No, get your hands off the computer. So yeah, some of my greatest fears are torn deleting my audio from this podcast.
They should be. They're not unfounded.
I'm sure in a different episode I have expanded on some of the other fears from that.
Yeah.
A lot, probably.
If not, you will.
Yeah, I think that's what this alcohol's for, probably.
Yeah.
I think the great thing is, too,
greasing me
though,
up.
you dove into this. You did dive
did.
headfirst into that move.
I did.
You got the job. We worked with you. Torn and I worked with you personally for a while. We developed a great friendship. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
you're here, right?
It's funny, we were talking about that on the podcast I recorded with Will. I was like, well, we've been friends for like a few years now, right? Like 3 years or something. I was like, it hasn't even been 2 years. I was like, dude, that's how good of a friendship it's been, that I feel like I've known you just as long as I've known Jeff, and I've known him for almost 9 years now.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Almost as good.
My
Almost.
comfort level with you guys is a little insane.
I think that was great.
His comfort level is that
just-
at which I've done most of this podcast with my hand on his leg.
I was going to say, to
Speaking of
pivot
fears,
Oh, Lord.
to
if he
pivot the
moves it up another
conversation-
inch,
Will's got the flusters.
It's a good fear, though.
yeah, it's a.
He's diving head first into that
Go
fear.
ahead.
I think I'd call it a hard fear.
Oh.
I was going to say, to pivot back to
Give him
the...
a love tap.
This will be the first explicit tag we put on a podcast.
I thought you said we could swear on these.
We can.
Okay.
That's not swearing, Will.
I know, but
That's a different level of explicit.
I was just going to say, to pivot back to, what was it?
We're talking about
Episode-
fear, right? Yeah.
Episode
Yes.
2. I was pivoting back to episode 2 on friendship. You kind of just folded right into the friendships real quickly, too.
Yeah.
It was...
it's a slight superpower of mine, I think.
I mean, like week 1, I was like groping up on you and holding you and hugging you.
A month later, we're together in Seattle.
I mean, today, when we
That's
came over to
true.
your house, there was a very long embrace.
It was. It
the
was like
door.
a 30-second hug.
Your mother-in-law's guests were just like, wow, this is a
Yeah.
really good friendship.
I'll admit, I didn't know they were present while I was hugging you.
You really would have wrapped his
Initially,
leg around
but-
you.
Initially.
It didn't stop him once he
A couple of seconds in, he heard the voices. He was like, you know what? I've gone this far.
we kept it rolling.
We kept hugging.
I want to talk about fear a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Fear.
I think before we actually started recording this, we are talking about fear as a fuel for creativity to a certain extent as well.
Yeah?
I, in my careers throughout my life, I mean, before I got into video, I was just doing random bullshit like selling cell phones or working at Sam's Club or something like that. And I had a fear of like my life not going anywhere. So I bucked up and went back to college essentially and figured out what I wanted to do. And it wasn't it wasn't video production that I thought of at the time, but that's what I ended up in. And I'm glad I had that fear of my life just being that, of being nothing, that I decided to dive into something.
I think as creatives, fear is one of the most driving forces in the
Oh my
creative
God.
Agreed.
process.
Absolutely.
Fear.
There's
Monotonous.
so much fear. Like, even now, I've been doing video and photography for 18 years.
Yeah, and I'm right behind you at 17.
Yeah, and like,
Right behind that at 6.
But there's still this fear when I create something that people aren't going to like it. Yeah. It's not going to be that good. I still have this ridiculous fear. I guess we're getting into my fears now.
But we haven't circled back to you yet.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But I think like,
Torrin just wraps the podcast.
He does his
and
solo
on the next
podcast.
episode,
fear is that he won't get to
so
have
because
time.
nobody got to talk to me, here's a 30-minute episode about my fear because this is my podcast. No, but honestly, there's still this fear that someday people are going to figure out that I'm not that good at what I do. It sounds ridiculous.
Oh my god, I empathize. Why do I keep saying empathize?
Empathize.
You relate to that.
I relate to that so
Yeah.
much.
on a soul level, I'm there
It's a
with
fear
you.
as a creative, I think. I'd be curious to find out. This is going to be a question I'm going to ask all my creatives that come on the show. Like, there's this fear, very real and present fear. Like, I've been doing this for 18 years. I've been at the job I'm at for 6 years. You know, my supervisors, my peers tell me that I'm good at what I do and that I'm a great part of the team. And I still have this constant fear that one day they're going to figure out I'm not really that good. You know? I'm constantly learning new things and trying new things and trying to improve myself because that's just life. I mean, we continue to get better. But yeah, I just have this fear that one day they're going to be like, hey man, listen, we need you to find something else because you're not that good. And now listen, here's a leadership principle for you. Here's a tidbit for you.
Ooh.
Hot take.
Fast facts with Tor.
As a leader, your goal should always be to find people that are better than you.
Oh, yes.
And it should also be to help those people that work under you be better than they are and ultimately surpass you in their skill level. Because that's what we should be doing. Because here's the thing. If you have fear as a leader that somebody's going to be better than you, you're not a good leader. Because you're going to constantly do everything you can to sabotage their careers and to keep them below you. So if the fear's always going to be there. And even still, I have this fear that people that work with me or that work under me are going to be better than me. There's nothing wrong with that. There's one of the new people that joined our team. She is a phenomenal photographer.
Fantastic.
And I could be afraid and say, oh my God, she's better than me. She's going to take my job. No, it just means that we found someone that's better than what we do. It's going to improve the overall quality of our team, of our company, and that pushes me. Then I can say, I can actually relax as a leader and say, hey, we've got someone that can handle this, and I don't have to do it anymore, so I can focus on other things to improve and grow in.
I've been at our job for 6 years, 6 months longer than Torrin has. Just 6 months. Almost to the day, in fact. But we recently hired, he left and came back, Patrick. Yeah. Patrick is the guy.
I'm terrified of Patrick.
My God. This guy, Patrick, is so good at what he does every single time I think about, hey, I've got this project I have to do. Patrick sets up the camera. Patrick sets up the lights. Patrick does. I walk in and I'm just like, they don't freaking need me.
Now, the funny thing about this whole thing is, Patrick, I'm going to have him on a podcast. Patrick will tell you, I can almost guarantee you he'll say this, he's never happy with what he does.
No.
Because he's always going to see 100 things he could have done differently, 100 things he could have done better.
And he is always saying the phrase, what is it, iron sharpens iron?
Yeah.
He says that, like...
I've ever heard. No, I've heard him say
He
that.
said
I've
that
heard
to me
him
at
say it
least
a
5
lot.
times.
Yeah. Maybe to you.
Well, no. Not to
Because you're
me.
more on his level.
I completely disagree with that. It wasn't directly to me. It was just, it's a general, like, being a part of a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can like hear him just like, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, that's exactly what
He's
it
like-
is. It's like, you're the fucking iron, Patrick. God.
And then Patrick's over there throwing up the signs like,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. We love Patrick. Because,
Absolutely.
And I think the thing is, too, that fear, this is a good fear, because
Yeah.
Patrick pushes us to become better.
Yo, dude, when I was looking at B-roll for a project I was working on recently, I was like, but would Patrick put this in this video?
Yeah.
Damn it, he wouldn't.
And like
Son of a...
so like with people like Savannah with photography, like Noah that used to work with us.
We should all
I look
fear
at their
Savannah.
photography and I say their photography is freaking awesome. They'll look at it and be like, man, you know, I can improve here. I look at them like, I want to push myself to, be as good as they are with whether it's color grading or the look and the feel, the compositions. Like, am I bad at what I do? No, I've been published. I get paid to do photography.
Yeah.
But I still always look at other people because I can learn from them. And I can grow from that. And so, rather than having that fear of, oh my gosh, this person's going to do better than me and take my role or responsibility, great, take it. Be better.
Do you also have a fear of never duplicating yourself? I have that for sure.
I don't.
Not really. I think because, again, my approach to everything is constantly learning and growing.
Okay. I mean,
So-
that kind of applies to that.
Yeah, but it's not. For me, it's not a conscious fear of like putting out the same thing over and over and over again.
For me, it's like I never want to do the same thing
Yeah.
twice,
If
possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's a fear in like cosplay too, though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you don't want to, sit there and try to be exactly like how somebody else did their
Right.
cosplay. Just for me as a cosplayer, I look for something that's different that nobody or rarely anybody has ever done, because your goal is to stand out.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that might not be your goal necessarily, but, ultimately it's to stand out enough to where you can build a community around yourself, where you can help encourage other people, and, it's a different beast of its own. But yes, in a sense, it's like, I don't want to do exactly the way, Jessica does something or Lindsay does something, it's just like, how can I make this my own? How
Right.
can I create this to be more like me and my style, my body type,
And
that type of thing.
You can always draw inspiration, but at the end of the day, as creatives, I think we can all agree on this. Like you need to stand out.
Yeah, I mean, if I copy and paste something, they're gonna be like, oh, she just
seen
copy
that.
and paste, like, or that doesn't fit her body style or something like that. That's a fear, fear of being
Absolutely.
called out and criticized, in that aspect, copycat syndrome, So,
I will
yeah.
say,
Can we do a podcast on criticism sometime?
absolutely.
Okay.
There's another topic criticism podcast coming your way.
You're welcome.
I'll say one other fear to kind of tie it into been the theme of a lot of my podcasts with my relationship was there was a fear in the relationship ending. It ended on mutual terms. Like I said earlier,
Is
the
it
fear of
ever mutual?
if you both agree that it's
Is
the
it
best
ever
decision.
truly mutual?
What do you mean?
Is this
I'm saying, like,
facing
dig
this a
down
fear of
deep.
yours?
Oh,
Dig deep. Is it ever truly mutual?
I think if
Was
you
it
wanna
mutual?
Get, like, deep down.
I'm digging into that fear.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it truly mutual?
I will say
No.
I will say no, because there's always going to be one side or the other that wishes it would have not ended.
or wants to
But
fight more for it?
But again, when you get down to it, this is where you look at the fear. Does the benefit outweigh the pain?
Yeah.
Okay? It's like working out. It's like any of that stuff. Like, dude, I want a six-pack. That's my goal this year. 2020 is to have a six-pack.
6-packs are out, man.
Hashtag kegger.
Yeah, Jeff's just embraced it. Again, embracing the fear that there is none.
So it's the happily married man. I would like to
exactly.
say that as well.
Hey,
Yeah. He married the woman of his dreams. He's good.
fuck yeah.
But no, like for me. So yeah, was it deep down in the seventh layer of hell mutual? No, because there was definitely that side of me that didn't want it to end. My God, there's that side of me 6 months in, or so, however long it's been at this time, that I still have pain of I wish it hadn't happened. I wish that she was still here. I wish that my kids were still here. But that's not the reality of it. Because again, is the pain going to outweigh the benefits? I absolutely believe so. So, the breaking off on the surface level, on, when it comes down to brass tacks, as my dad would say, it was mutual. We both agreed that it was the best thing for the two of us. And I will say from that, hold on a second, Will.
I know. I'm just raising my hand.
Okay,
I'm waiting my
okay,
turn.
okay.
Here. Finish your point.
For me, the fear of being alone, like I said earlier, the fear of dying alone, was very real and present. But the benefits have already outweighed the hurt, the pain. Because, like I said, I feel like I'm a better person. People are telling me I'm a better person. I'm able to focus on myself, which might sound selfish to an extent, but let's get real. Sometimes in life, you need to be selfish. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't focus on self-care, we don't focus on ourselves, what the hell good are we to anybody? If we're broken, if we're hurt, if we're not better people, we can't help anybody if we don't take care of ourselves first. And sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish. Now, don't ever be selfish to the point where you're intentionally hurting others. Because listen, you're going to let others down. It's going to happen. You're going to hurt other people. But if it's at the cost of you making sure that you are the best you can be, then your true friends, like we've talked about on other episodes, are going to come back around and realize, hey, you're doing this. They understand what you're doing. They support what you're doing because they know, look, I know this is tough right now, but I know you're going to be the best person. And I had friends tell me that at the beginning. I remember Jen saying to me that when everything happened, I was broken down crying with my leadership team, telling them what was going on. Because we have that good of a relationship as leaders at my job that I can share the personal stuff with them. So sitting there broken and crying and telling them, my wife's gone, my kids are gone. And then afterwards, Jen saying to me, I know this just happened, but I already see a light in you that I haven't seen before. And them saying that you're already becoming a better version of you. That's how you know it's the right thing. It's the right decision. And my hope is that my ex becomes a better person as a result of this. And maybe her being a better person means she's not with me. Me being a better person. And not that there's anything wrong with them as a person. Not that there's anything wrong with me as a person. Like I said on another podcast, just relationships, it didn't fail. It just didn't work. We're different people. We grow apart. And here we are. And so if I didn't become a better person, then maybe we have some issues. But I really do believe I'm becoming a better person. I think we're all becoming better because we faced our fears. Rachel, I think you're becoming a better person because you face the fears of being alone, of ending your marriage. Will, you face the fears of moving down here, of starting something new, and you've become a better person. You've grown. You've improved.
100% grown. Yeah.
Rachel, you've grown and you've improved. Jeff,
I've never grown and improved.
There's Jeff taking it back for us.
Jeff's never been afraid or faced a fear. He is Jeff.
He is Jeff.
He's just fuck fear.
Fuck
fear.
Yeah, we talked about all those fears.
Yeah.
He's experiencing.
So
100% grew from that.
So, Will, you had something to say?
I did have something to say.
So,
it was I wanted to pose a question actually to you, Rachel, and actually myself.
Okay.
Jeff, I'm sorry you're excluded from this because you're happily in a relationship.
Yeah.
It was so with the fears that you've gone through, we've all gone through. Do you need to grab your
charger?
You're good.
Where's the charger?
It's in my office.
All right. Jeff's gonna grab the computer charger.
It's gonna be a little.
We're gonna keep rolling for the next 4 hours. Anyway,
this is a long episode.
Question I want to pose, since Jeff's gone, I can ask it now freely. With the fears that you've experienced and we've all gone through, as far as going through breakups and being, to a certain extent, alone now, if you were able to go back 3 months prior to the ending of your relationship, would you really want to, and would you change anything?
I'm gonna go first
for it.
because in all disclosure, I probably should have ended it a few years prior
From
to
what I've
deciding.
heard, I agree.
It wasn't until talking with a therapist and talking to friends and really kind of digging deep into what was going on within me that it was a realization to me that I was not the same person. He was not the same person, and it just wasn't working anymore. And I needed to take a large step back and see basically where I was seeing myself and seeing my daughter in the next couple of years. So I don't think it would have changed my decision. I think in all disclosure and honesty, I should have made that decision earlier. And I don't know where I would be necessarily right now. I probably would already have gone back to school and, excelled myself. I might not even have been in North Carolina. I wouldn't have had my daughter, if I had made that decision earlier. But again, we'll go into that all in another episode, I'm sure.
Deep dives.
Yeah. But would I reconsider my decision in 3 months prior to making the decision? No, I would not.
How about you, Torrin?
No, you go first, Will.
I don't know. I posed the question. You
Okay,
go
fine.
first.
My podcast, Will.
Fine. Do you
No,
really
I
want me to
don't
go
care.
first? I can.
Honestly, I think I'm kind of in that same boat. Like, I've thought about this a lot. Because especially, like, there's another episode I want to get into about trauma and grief and how it's not the normal patterns. I've been dealing with that a lot because I deep down inside, like I said earlier, I miss my wife, my family. Part of it was comfort because I knew that was something I knew and something I'd known for 13 years. But would I change it? No, I wouldn't change it. Because I know for a fact that we both got to the point where we weren't the best versions of ourselves. We weren't making each other the best versions of ourselves. And kind of to Rachel's point here, I think I would have made the decision sooner because over the past period of time, my ex and I had a lot of conversations about separation and stuff. So that's why when it happened, it wasn't a surprise that it happened. It was more of the way it happened was a surprise and the suddenness of it. But I knew it was coming. I think we would have made the situation or the decision sooner than later. But again, I wouldn't change anything. It'd be really interesting to get her on a podcast one day, which I think is my ultimate goal, would be to be able to sit across the table from her and have an honest conversation. Obviously, when we're both in like really good places and mentally,
The ultimate closure.
Yeah, and we'll just talk through it. Not even talk about like deep details, but just like kind of that
Transition.
The transition, yeah. Because we're still trying to maintain a good friendship and stuff. But it's just time. Like she needs to heal, I need to heal. But again, that's kind of my ultimate goal would be, or I won't say goal, but just I think it would be an awesome experience to be able to have that conversation one-on-one with her in a podcast form, just talking about our personal growth and all that. But I think she would agree with me that the decision should have been made sooner. We kind of had that conversation. But I wouldn't change it because, again, if it happens sooner, because, okay, I think I've said this on a podcast. If not, shit's about to get real. She told me that when we were separating, that she hadn't been happy for about 10 years. Yeah.
I was shocked. That was
Yeah.
what my face did just now.
We we had separated almost 10 years to the day before, and we separated for a period of time. At that point, like I was trying to fight and get her back, win her back and show her that I could be better and different. In the circumstances we separated under at that time, we got back together, and then according to her, I don't want to speak negatively of her in any way, and this isn't hopefully doing that, but she said like she hadn't really been happy since that time. I think she said, she said things along the lines of she hadn't really been honest with herself and stuff like that. And, but we wouldn't change it because if we changed that, we wouldn't have had our daughter together. And obviously that, gift, like I love my daughter and I wouldn't wish that away.
She's fucking great.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. She's the crazy version of me. And she really is a mini me.
Quite literally.
Literally, mini me. So I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change... I think I would change some of the circumstances around the way things happened. The suddenness of it, the pain. Again, different episode. Trauma, pain, hurt. But yeah, it's... I wouldn't have changed the decision. Because I think already I'm a better person because that decision was made. So whether she made the decision for herself or whether she made the decision for us, I agreed with the choice. and we separated. I mean, she kind of made the decision for me, like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm done. I was like, great. I can't make you stay. We talked about it. She left. So I wouldn't change that because I've become a better person. I've focused on me. I've rediscovered myself. I've rediscovered my passions. I've rediscovered, and my focus has changed. I'm working on being the best father that I can be. I think I'm challenged more now because my kids aren't there every day. I'm challenged now to be more present in their lives because they do live a distance away. Mm-hmm. And then when they're with me, I'm challenged to be a better father for them when they're here, to make those times extra special, to make those memories. And then it allows me, it sounds selfish. Jeff and I have talked about this a lot. Yep. It sounds selfish, but I'm single again because Jessica was my first real relationship. The second person I had dated, my first real relationship, and we were together for 13 years. So I never really had that chance to, like, in a mature state of mind, be single with a good job and able to kind of, like, do for me. Mm-hmm. And so I've almost been given a reset or a second chance to now have a good job, make smart decisions, own a house, own a car, just do things like that, and do things like a podcast, and through this podcast, like, help other people. So I'm excited for that, and I'm talking a lot. I don't want to talk too much, but
it's your podcast.
It's the whiskey.
You're right. It's my podcast.
It's the whiskey.
And don't you forget that. But no, I mean,
on the next episode of Insights into... No, I'm sorry.
We have killed off Torn, and we've taken over. No.
Mutiny! I'm the captain now. No, but seriously, it's I wouldn't change it because the good outweighs the bad. I've used the pain to propel myself forward, mm-hmm. to help others, to hopefully... Well, I also say hopefully. I have. I've gotten these messages from people that I've helped them. I've gotten messages like, you've helped me see that I can face the challenges that I'm facing, the struggles that I'm facing head on, and know that I can do this, that I can push on through it. And then, somebody said to me the other day, that I'm helping more people than I even realize.
Yep.
And my God, that's what it's about for me. I want to leave wherever I am, whether it's a job, whether it's this life. I want to leave the people I encounter better than the way I found them. And, I don't want that to sound arrogant, but, like, I want people to be better people because they've had a friendship with me, a relationship with me. I hope... You know what? Fuck it. I know for a fact...
Language.
Yes. My podcast!
Explicit.
No, but seriously. I know for a fact that I've left my ex-wife better than when I found her. Because she's told me that. In our conversations post-breakup, she's told me that because of me, she's found the strength to fight, to push on, to stand up for herself, to become something better than she thought she could be. So even though I wasn't a bad husband, she's even told me that. Like I've said before, I could have done better, yes. But I know that she has found her voice again. Unfortunately, it's without me. But she's found her voice in this world. And I hope that she continues to find that strength to be a better person and a better version of herself. I want my kids to be the best versions of themselves that they can be. And all my friends, coworkers, I want them to be better because I was in their life. Because isn't that what a legacy is all about?
Yeah.
That's
100%.
And Jeff, you talk about leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
You've left a legacy because every person that we've worked with has nothing but great things to say about you. And so you've left... God, the drinks are kicking in. Maybe, I don't know. But you've left a legacy in that people have nothing but great things to say about you. And they're better because you've been in their lives. People are better because you've been in their lives. You know, I know I'm a better person because you've been in my life. Jeff, I just told you this earlier today, that I'm a better person because you've been in my life. Rachel, I'm a better person because...
huge impact on your life.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you, like we say, you're the female version of me, and we've just had a lot of great friendships and memories. Like, so you guys have had an impact on my life, and again, if we impact one person, then we've left a legacy. Mm-hmm. You know, whether or not we have kids, we've left a legacy by impacting people.
You may never know the number of people that you have touched in your life. But you've touched people. And that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say this in a really terrible way. Everybody at this table tonight has touched each other. And I love you all.
Aww.
Damn it, Will.
I mean that in the most heartfelt way, honestly.
So,
Are you going to get to your fear, or are we just going to wrap
No.
up this?
I don't know if I can top what you just said. You had such a finalization to your
My
answer.
podcast, Will!
It's so fucking good.
wait a second. Has Will not talked about his
No,
fear?
he hasn't.
Jeez.
I have talked about my
Well,
fear.
no, it's not his fear. It's the question
not
that he
fear. Yeah, it's the
posed.
question.
I don't even
Gotcha.
remember what question I posed.
About changing the situation.
Oh, yeah.
3 months from your decision. Or from the decision.
Yes or no, Will? Just simplify it.
No.
No.
Wouldn't
You
have
never
changed
looked
it.
back, you wouldn't change it.
Oh, of course I fucking look back.
Yeah.
But
change it.
Because of that look back, I realized that even up to 6 months, the signs were there that shit was not right. Shit
Yeah.
was the red flags were coming up. I don't. And this is still something I'm working through. Is like your relationships. For instance, Rachel, you ended it on your terms. Torrin, yours was not ended on your terms, but you've come to terms with it
Yeah.
to an extent. Mine was, to me, it still feels like it was like pulled out from under me.
Yeah. Oh, to give you, I don't want to say comfort, but to just kind of let you know that you're not in the boat alone. Even though it was not necessarily on my terms, there are days when I'm still haven't come to terms with it.
Right.
And we'll get into that on a different podcast,
Yeah,
but there's
for
days
sure.
when I'm just like, because of the suddenness of it, like, I feel like a part of me was ripped away.
Share the suddenness for sure.
Yeah.
Like I was told in the final days that we needed to talk about it for months before that, and it was according to the other party brought up to me in that circumstance, but I don't recall that, honestly. It just honestly felt like it was ripped out from under me from somebody else. So 3 months prior to that, no, I wouldn't have changed anything, especially looking back on it, that it was happening far before that. The issues that we were having as far as the doomed trail we were traveling down.
Yeah.
And especially now, looking back on it, I wouldn't change it because I honestly do feel better about myself. I was in a loop of supporting one person, and that was where all of my time and energy was going into, and now it's going into me, and honestly, that feels a whole lot better. So,
Did all three of you find part of your identity in the other person?
Oh,
honestly, no, I did not.
no.
You didn't find part of your identity in her?
Well, okay. To an extent, as far as I want to help people, in a way, yes.
Okay.
The person I was with, and I'm sure we'll talk about this on some other podcasts, had a lot of emotional instability and hardships that they were working through, and it was unbalanced in that way. Of I was always the emotional support, I was the positivity in the relationship.
Right.
That's super draining to...
I'm sorry. It's just because I can relate.
You can absolutely laugh,
yeah.
and looking back on it, I laugh at myself now too. Like,
Right.
that's super draining and hard on you,
Right.
yourself, to put all of your energy into someone else instead of yourself.
But you feel like your identity was still separate from her. You were not like the same person.
We were...
Your identity was separate from her, so
Our
she
identity
was
was tangled, for sure.
Okay.
I will agree with you on that. Our identity was tangled. And it was the splitting of that I really found myself again.
Torrin, same thing.
Oh, yeah. I think,
Yeah.
over the years, just with everything that happened, I definitely... Okay, listen, if you're in a relationship and your identities don't get intertwined, then you're not being completely honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're always...
I have an argument on that, though.
Oh, bring it.
Oh.
I feel
Hold
like
up.
this is a different podcast.
Before we
me
dive
explain.
into
We
that,
are
Let me
what?
explain.
An hour 10 in? This is a different podcast.
No, it's going to be a long podcast. It's 4 people. It's a long podcast.
All right.
But no, listen. So here's what I mean by that, is that when you're in a relationship, you're going to get intertwined to an extent.
Yes.
So your identity is going to be tied up in them because they're a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
You become a part of that person, they become a part of you. So you're always going to leave a part of them,
On
or a
you.
part of you with them, and part of them on you.
Okay. That I would
That's what I
Gotcha.
mean. So and the longer that goes on, the more intertwined you become.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say, if you aren't intertwined with the other person, then you're not, I don't think you're being fully connected to them, and your relationship's probably doomed.
You're not being fully open.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
so
not
for
compatible
me,
to begin with.
13 years.
Yeah.
Like, Jessica knew me inside and out. You know, we were.
yes,
like,
she did.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I was going to make the joke.
Oh,
But
God.
seriously, like, you know, no, but
Too
that's
drunk
the
for
truth.
this.
It's like, you know, there's a deeper level, deep rooted. So when you separate, the longer you've known someone, the more you're going to leave with that person.
Honestly, the harder it is of you leaving that imprint behind.
Yeah, which is those. God, this is a whole nother episode I'm going to get into, but just about
Yeah,
dreams
we're-
and stuff.
we're getting
no,
off
about my
topic from
dreams
fear,
and
for sure.
dealing with everything. But yeah, I mean, your identity. What about you, Rachel? Your identity.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I do not deny that
Because you care about that person.
my identity was fully in that
Yeah.
person. It wasn't even partially. Because if it wasn't done by me, or if it wasn't handled by me, it wasn't getting done. I mean, so not even just, in, the aspect of bills and, adulting life, quote unquote. But I mean, I was constantly the positive, the positivity, the driving motion in all aspects.
You the growth in the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, yeah, granted, I had the final say in a lot of decisions, but ultimately, I had to make those decisions based off of what I had in front of me. The cards that were dealt to me, I had to sit there and, decipher these cards, and figure out what in my heart felt right, because I didn't have necessarily a partner that would support me in those decisions. So I was basically going, on a whim, and hoped for the best.
Yeah.
I almost see you with like a deck of tarot cards and just
That's
going,
exactly
death,
what I pictured.
Death. Damn it!
Well, time to finish this up.
Not necessarily death, but maybe, stunted growth, I mean, I didn't have the drive that I have now. There are circumstances that suck right now, whereas, like, I can't see my daughter and things like that. But I've, over the past couple months, have struggled with what does that future look like. And right now, for me, actually within the past couple days, and I've told Torin this, I know exactly what I want to do. And I have an actual goal by the end of 2020, whereas in my past 20-some years, I've never had a goal in mind by the end of a year. Never.
And would you say that you're finally at a point where you feel like you could actually achieve this goal?
Finally.
Because it rises and falls on
yeah.
you now.
Yeah.
It doesn't depend on somebody else. It's,
Right.
And it's not to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, that's what relationships are. They're give and take. They're compromise.
Yeah.
But now, like for me, it's the same thing. It's like, now my decisions rise and fall on me.
Yeah.
So, Will?
I did have my hand up, so it's my turn.
Yes.
So I wanted to bring this back to fears, and after that, I'll leave it up to you to leave it on a positive note, because
Okay.
it's your podcast, Torin.
Damn right.
I wanted to pose another question to everybody this time, Jeff.
Ooh.
What are your fears for the future?
Oh, geez.
Let's keep them quick. Quick fire.
Quick,
Rapid
quick.
podcast.
Start with someone else.
Fears for the future. Oh, crap, Will.
Do you want to go last so you can wrap it up?
What's your fear, Will?
Yeah, Will,
Yeah,
start
Will.
us. You asked it, you
I was going to
finished
say,
it.
you
always
asked
have
it, so
something
you
in mind.
obviously have
Yeah.
an
You
answer
say that,
before
but I had
everybody.
nothing in mind. I was hoping to think of something while you were all talking.
This podcast is tanking.
It is.
All right, my fear
It's
of the
been
future.
rise,
I'll go
rise.
first.
Rachel
I'll
has
go
an
first.
answer. Go
All
ahead.
right. So my fear of the future is the fact that I have a goal now set for 2020, and my fear is I may not get to that point. My fear is that I have a dream bigger than my pocket. I want to go back to school. And I want to become certified in things that I thought I excel in on a natural state. And to be formally educated in it would help me kind of expand and grow to where the fact that I'm not sitting and working for somebody else, I'm working for me, and I can take my...
Let me throw this at you.
Torn, you're
Just
going
one.
last.
No. One thing. How do you think you can overcome that fear? Doesn't have to be a big answer, but just quick, off the top of your head, what do you think is one thing you could do to overcome that fear?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Okay. That's fine.
I just don't have an answer right now because I know what I want to do. And that was the first step for me, was knowing what I wanted to do and identifying where I wanted to go.
Honestly, that's a huge step.
So there you
Yeah.
go. That's the first thing you can do in overcoming your fear is you've identified what you want to do. Now you can come up with a plan on how to execute that.
Yeah.
So now you can lay
that's
it
step
out
2.
and set your goals. Set a timeline for your goals, where you want to be, milestones.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that.
I think beyond, so I've talked about fear quite a bit in a lot of different aspects, but fear of legacy, fear of like not leaving that legacy. Brittany's siblings actually pulled me aside a little while ago and told me that my legacy is secured not only in myself and my wife, but with them and the impact that I had in their lives. And that has been incredible. So fear of the impact and fear of the legacy is dwindling, thankfully. And Torrin, we've talked about future, about having kids and stuff like that in my future. I just feel like that fear is dwindling because I'm looking at the impact that I'm having in other people's lives and trying to go back, not from like, okay, when I die, will I have kids? But when I die, who are the people around me that, not for future generations, but who are the people around me that I've impacted directly that they will carry on through their generations?
Yeah.
And that's one of those, my name may not live on. I may never have a kid. Hey, whatever. That happens.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because
I got
your
tons to say on that
name is already being carried on.
Yeah.
It's true.
Because
I've
my
written a song,
daughters...
Ballad of Hefe.
Yeah, and my daughters already reference you when they talk about things. When they talk about the times that you've helped my family.
Yeah.
So my daughters are already talking about it. And they're going to carry that on.
Toaster just go off? What the
Dishes.
hell was that?
Dishes in the sink. So like.
Okay.
But no. So my daughters, my family, already talks about Mr. Jeff. And how he's helped our family through tough times. So your legacy is already beginning.
Right.
You're leaving.
And I know I'm not going to die alone. I'm not going to die without friends by my side. I'm not going to, fingers crossed, drown.
On that note, don't think of your legacy as beginning, though. It's been going since you've been impacting
strengthening
people.
your legacy. You're continuing to build a legacy that's already been established.
I've known you for 2.5 years, but anyone prior to that, I'm certain, knowing you, that you've had an impact on. They're gonna, unfortunately, know your name and carry it on. And go from there.
I'm leaving.
All right, Will.
All right, I have to
quickly.
pee really bad, so I'm gonna wrap this up.
All right,
real
we're
quick.
getting there. Getting there. Bringing it home.
Cut this out because I completely forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh,
Jesus, this was so good in my mind. Oh, yeah. It was a fear of letting myself down. Actually, I've set some very ambitious goals for myself over the next year. I'll say 2 years, just to give myself some leeway and not be too fearful of myself. It's a fear of, like, if I don't meet these, then I've reached a level of complacency with myself that I can't advance past that. I need to meet these goals to continue to advance forward to what I want to ultimately accomplish. So that's my fear.
What was the question again?
Our
Fear of the future.
Did I cover the future with that?
Yeah, no. I'm saying for me, I'm trying to think of mine.
Yeah. It's your thing now.
I think you fear the future, period.
I do. I think
Because
that
you think on it constantly.
I do. I do, because the future is so drastically different. You know, it's again, it sounds redundant, but a 13-year relationship ending. What the hell does my future look like? And I think there's a fear in that it's uncertain, but then there's also this excitement in that it's uncertain. Like, the future hasn't been written yet. I have an opportunity to decide what I want to do. To decide... And I think my future's starting to be written. Like, I know that this podcast, that this drive and this passion inside of me is going to turn into something big. I feel it. Mm-hmm. And so that's that. My fear is a fear of uncertainty. But it's a challenge, because it's compelling me and pushing me to do better, to keep this going, to push myself. Look, I'm going to write a book, and that's the bottom line. I'm going to write a book, and
Mic drop.
First.
Yeah, no, I'm going to write
drop.
a book, and it's a fear of what am I going to write? How am I going to write it? And I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to let that drive me, because clearly there's people that I don't want to let down. It goes back to my fear of letting people down. But now it's not a fear of letting people down because, I don't want to feel bad about myself. It's, I don't want to let people down because I want to continue to help people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Which I think is in your nature anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. No.
Well, all right.
My relationship breaking up is older than yours, and you've already helped me. That doesn't make any sense, but you did it.
I didn't help you at all.
No, you just shit all over me, and honestly, that helped.
Oh, hey.
You really did, Jeff. Like, all right, so it's been 2 days. Come on.
It's been 2 days. Come
Get
on.
over this. Let's
What
go.
was it, the second or third episode you guys did together, and you're talking about Jeff as being like that asshole friend that's just like, buck the fuck up and get over it?
Yeah.
You did that to me, and
Which
I
everybody
believe,
needs a friend like that.
and you can refer to your message history, but I texted you immediately after listening to that and said, thank you for being a dick to me when I needed it.
This is true.
Jeff's
Yeah.
the lovable asshole.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes I gotta be.
Torn, I have to pee. Please leave us on a positive note.
Well, I was gonna say, could I end it with the challenge?
Go for it, man.
So, everybody has fear. Everybody has things that they deal with. Everything that has the stuff that they have to face. Face that fear and decide whether or not you're going to be crippled by it or whether you're going to push through it and become that better person on the other side. Challenge yourself to face your fear and do what needs to be done to make yourself that better person.
Yeah. And I will tack on to that. Find people that you can lean on that'll help you achieve that. Find people that can support you. That can be real with you. That can be assholes when you need them to be an asshole.
Yeah.
But they can also be a shoulder to lean on when you feel like you can't go on. Because you're not going to make it through this life alone.
You can't.
You need people. You need friends. And that's the only way any of us have made it this far, is that we have people. So thanks for joining us on an extra long episode of Insights into a Soul. But I think it's been a great episode. It's been fun.
It was a great episode!
Will from the other room. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you follow us, leave comments, send me your emails, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com. I've got a website coming soon, a book in the future. Don't know when. But again, thank you for all the support, the kind words. I'm so thankful to know that I'm helping people and that we're helping people, that all my guests have a hand in that. I'm not doing it alone. Again, doing it with friends, doing it with people. But until next time, like, subscribe, leave your comments, emails. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
Will, hurry up. I'm about to piss in the sink.
I'm going!
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Insights into a Soul. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe and to share it with your friends. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Insights into a Soul, on Instagram, @TornH, and if you have suggestions for future episodes or topics, or if you'd like to be on the podcast, contact us, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com.